Yeah, so I like Decision to Leave. It was not what I expected, but very notable movie for several reasons. This is the new film from Park Chan-wook, his first film since The Handmaiden in 2016. Of course, since then, we saw him create and direct every episode of Little Drummer Girl, the BBC and AMC spy thriller Licari series with Florence Pugh, which we liked quite a bit back in 2018. So still been a fair amount of time for Park Chan-wook, who's probably most well known for Old Boy, along with The Handmaiden. Just one of the signature South Korean filmmakers of the last 30 years. And new film from him, very exciting. This premiered at Cannes. He won Best Director there. This is officially the South Korean Best International Feature Film submission at the Oscars this year. I feel like a nomination at the very least is quite safe at this point. And yeah, it's I think it's a strong film that is quite challenging in a good way. It's a very engaging movie, but also very intelligent in how I think asks a lot of the audience. And on its surface, like the log line, like the pitch, the setup to the movie comes across as quite simple, where we're really just centering around this detective character who starts to get this fascination, infatuation with a widow who happens to be a prime suspect in a murder slash death case. This is set in like the Busan area, and you think it's set up as this like crime thriller whodunit movie, but it doesn't really go down that road at all. It really actually becomes more about these characters with this like budding relationship and how that begins to become consummated as the detective played by Park Hae-il. He's like very uninterested in trying to solve the crime and find out if this suspect he has particular interest in is really uh, at the hands of the crime, and there are other crimes that will follow later in the movie that really flip things on its head. And it just becomes this, I think, this quite layered narrative about a really unique like romance. And the reason I think it's challenging is that that narrative gets quite layered, and there have been a lot of like Hitchcock comparisons specifically to Vertigo. And the way the movie builds up to this, I think, a really emotional climax it takes a while to get there. And I think you really have to just kind of ride with these characters and really like be in that like relationship, which is quite complicated and not easy to read or predict what's going to happen. And along the way, like as you probably imagine, the filmmaking flourishes are incredibly impressive. There's these really cool scenes early on where the detective is thinking or watching the widow, and he almost like places himself in the scene, or like thinks back in the past of like something that he learned and puts himself in the scene. So you see them both in camera together, even though they're not actually interacting. Like he's like almost like Batman, like walking through a hologram of a crime scene. Like really cool visual touch. There's some really cool like in camera like pan out like zooms on like faces and stuff. Yeah, like I said, complicated, challenging narrative, but like it's a really like kind of like gorgeous build that I think if you're able to like stick with the movie and like engage with these multi-layered plots and really process that dialogue, because it's a movie that really communicates everything through just tons of dialogue. If you're able to stick with that, I think it does have a rewarding end as a kind of like atypical like romance thriller type movie. So I would recommend it. It's getting limited release right now. It'll end up on Mubi eventually, which you can access via Amazon when it eventually gets there. So definitely check it out. It'll probably get Oscar nominated in Best International Feature Film. Yeah, definitely unlike anything I had seen in quite some time. Definitely a cool movie.